This guy is moving.
Yeah, that's
right.
He's
at luncheons, he's at briefings, he's at sit-downs, he's at PBRs, he's on the calls. He's the newest ED in South Carolina, and we're just excited about Michael Johnson, that's for sure.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for jumping on the call. And if you are ready, we would love for you to share with everybody the one system that can help everybody have a much, much higher show-up rate at every event that they're inviting or having invited guests to.
Wow, I do appreciate you allowing me to be on the call here. As you noticed, probably heard a door squeaking. I'm stepping outside from a PBR. And actually, it's a quite successful PBR. We got two young gentlemen that came over, and because of the system that we're going to discuss this evening has helped these guys to make it over here. And you notice in most cases PBRs are not this late. However, because of them getting off late and us making these confirmation calls, these gentlemen, they showed up, and we're closing them out right now, and, of course, working on a game plan to get them rocking and rolling for the next few days as well. So pretty much what I guess we're going to discuss with you guys here on the phone is how do you have a better, I guess, persistency rate of people showing up at the briefings or at the luncheons, and at the PBR. So whatever event you're going to have to put the information in front of folks. And what's been working for myself as well as many other associates in the business is something we call confirmation calls. And what is the value of a confirmation call? It just pretty much helps the prospect to sort of stay committed to what they said they were going to do. If they said they were going to come to the briefing, well, how do we help them to be committed to coming to the briefing? If they say they're going to come to the PBR, well, how do we help them to be committed to come to the PBR? If they say they're going to come to a sit-down, if you will, how do they stay committed to that? So what we've been encouraging our team to do, and, of course, Mrs. Acoyne is going to email out, no doubt, a script on this, so to speak, for the entire team throughout the organization to help you guys out. But I guess what she wants me to do real quick is share with you guys how we've been having success with this. And I'm not using it enough. Sometimes we just think because we invited some folks, oh, well, they know me, that's a family member or a friend or it's a workmate, they're going to show up anyway. Or not on the contrary. Sometimes, life happens, things get in the way. And as soon as people tell you that they're going to show up, they can also say, well, I'm not going to show up just as fast as they say they're going to show up. But to help your ratio go higher, all we encourage you guys to do is pretty much find someone that can give them a call, give your guest a call, give your prospect a call. And Mr. Coyne, if I'm doing okay so far, did you want me to go this far into it?
Go as far as you like. I'll pick up wherever you. I don't know if you've got any notes with you or whatever, or if you need. I'm good. You're doing great. Just keep on going,
okay,
and I'll
great.
pick up where you need.
Okay, awesome. All right, great. And what we encourage you guys to do, once you invite your guests out to the briefing, to the luncheons, or what have you, have someone to do a confirmation call with them. And how does that work? Well, here's how it would go. Let's just say that someone invited Mr. Patrick Shaw to the event, and boy, would I love to have him. Someone invited him to the event, and I would call maybe Mrs. Acoyne, or I also use Mrs. Jennifer Whitewing quite a bit sometimes when I'm doing confirmation calls, and I would simply ask her, say, hey, listen, I got Mr. Patrick Shaw coming out to the luncheon. Could you please do a confirmation call for me? And they normally say, well, sure, that's no problem. And they know exactly what to say because they've done it before. So this is what they're going to say when they call up Mr. Shaw. They're going to call him up and say, hey, Mr. Shaw, how you doing? Hey, great. Hey, this is Michael Johnson. Well, this is Jennifer. This is Mr. Coyne. We're just calling I am the event coordinator for the event that's taking place this evening. We're just calling to confirm that you're coming out tonight at 7 o'clock to the private business reception or to the luncheon or whatever it may be. And then Mr. Shaw would say, well, yeah, sure. I'm planning on coming out. And then they would say, okay, great, listen, all right, we just noticed that there is a dress code. We prefer business casual or what have you, no jeans or tennis shoes, of course, no kids or animals. We kind of say that as a joke. But we mean that, of course. And then we say, as a matter of fact, are you going to be coming alone, or are you going to be bringing a significant other or a friend or a partner or a business partner, someone of that nature? And they said, well, no, I'll be coming by myself. So you want to know that right up front because you're telling them that this is a personal invitation. This is an invitation. It's not something that people can just show up at. That shows our prospect how serious this is when someone calls them to confirm that they're coming out. And that is how serious our business is. So because of that, they're taking it real serious. And in most cases, they will show up because they see that you are real serious and you got someone calling for them to show them how serious this business is. So after they say they're going to show up and they're going to bring 1 or 2 people, whatever, we thank them. Then we say later on to them, say, listen, if there's any chance that you may not be able to make it, if anything comes up, however, could you please call Mr. Johnson to let him know that you can't make it because, we're going to reserve your seat for you, and we want to make sure that if you're not going to make it, we can give that seat up. Is that okay? And then then Mr. Shaw would say, well, yeah, sure, that's fine, no problem. So that's pretty much how we do our confirmation calls. Mr. Coyne, I really hope that helped. By the way, team, make sure that you stay away because, see, confirmation calls also carry a little bit of emotional value. See, it's kind of like a belly-to-belly thing. It's kind of like sit-downs that we do with people. They're more effective because you're really speaking to them. What I'm saying is don't send out a text to ask them, I'm doing a conference just to see if they're coming to the briefing or the luncheon. It has no emotional value. Now, of course, you have people on your team and stuff that you send texts out to remind them about this and that, but a guest or a prospect, no, don't do that to them. Have someone give them a call to confirm that they're coming, all right? And at the same time, ask them, are they going to bring anyone with them? And at the same time, let them know about the dress code. And at the same time, mention to them, hey, if you're going to cancel, please, by all means, give Mr. or Mrs. such and such a call so that we can give your seat up. So, again, those things are key. Stay away from the texts. Dealing with these type of confirmation calls, call the people. It is a confirmation call. It's not a confirmation text. To remind them about the event, and no doubt you'll have massive success with people showing up at your PBRs, at your luncheons, and, of course, at the briefings as well. And, Mr. Coyne, I do appreciate you and Mr. Coyne, all that you do. Everything that I'm learning, of course, is directly from you guys, and I'm going to turn the call back over to you.
Awesome. Great job, Mr. Johnson. And we see it is working. You're having great attendance at the PBRs and the sit-downs and the luncheons that are going on in your organization. And so this is a reminder. Some of us have done these in the past and kind of gotten away from it. I'm guilty of it myself. So I thought this would be a great time. We all are urgent about up-ranking this month. And so the more turnout we have at the event, the better. This one simple thing, this call that maybe takes 1 minute to 2 minutes, can make a huge difference in the number of people that show up.
Mrs. Coyne, can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, real quick side note, team, listen, I remember in the past, and I don't know if Mrs. White may remember this, in the past there was a luncheon that was taking place. I believe I had about 6 people that were supposed to show up, 6 to 8, I'm not too sure. I gave the names to Mrs. Whitewing. I remember this vividly. I gave the names to Mrs. Whitewing, and she called the names, and she told me that, 5 said they were going to show up at the luncheon. Well, only 4 showed up. 4 guests showed up. It was a great luncheon. I didn't have to do the talking. And many of you guys heard this story. For those that haven't, simply because of asking her to do this confirmation call for this luncheon that took place in the city of Charleston, I put the folks in front of somebody else. They did the presentation. Of course, I collect the offering. And after that lunch, of course, I didn't mind paying for 4 people. They all signed up with the membership. 2 came into the business. Simply because Mrs. Whitewing did a confirmation call for me, I made $800 at that luncheon. So that's how effective they are, and I'm going to turn the call back over to you.
Yeah, you said that's a Happy Meal, right?
A real Happy Meal.
That was a true Happy Meal.
And Mr. Johnson, I want you to fess up something now to these people because you got started on it. You said you don't even use this as much as you should. None of us probably use this the way we should use it all the time. But there was a time when you didn't use it at all. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, of course, not using it, you can take a look at your numbers. And many of us, we say to ourselves, well, no, I don't need nobody making no calls for me. I can do this myself. And that's the problem with the growth of many of our businesses. We're not using the system. And these confirmation calls, they are part of the system. They really are. See, that's what I love about Pre-Pay Legal. You don't have to do all the work. You can ask your team or sideline or other folks that you meet in the company, and that's why we should network all the time when we go to different events because you have common grounds with certain folks in this business. So, ask them later on, hey, I'm going to be needing you to do some confirmation calls or what have you for me to different prospects to come out to this event. And, of course, your numbers will grow up. Because I didn't use it effectively all the years I've been in Pre-Pay Legal, my numbers weren't as high as they could have been. I've been on Players Club, but my numbers were not as high as they should have been simply because I didn't follow the system of using confirmation calls. So you're right, Mr. Coyne. I didn't use it all the time, but lately I'm using it myself doing my best to set a good example for the team, allowing them to use it too. We're having massive success right now.
Just to let y'all know, probably there's some occupations that pay very well in this country. You know, one of them obviously is being a doctor. You know, doctors make fairly good money. The doctors that we know, that we have appointments with, they want to make the most money they can every hour they can. So if we've got an appointment with them, I can guarantee you the day before we're supposed to be there, they have somebody call and confirm that me or Teresa's going to be at that appointment. And if for some reason we're not going to be there, they fill that appointment with somebody else. And so if a doctor that makes $300,000 or $400,000 a year, just like we do, and all the people that's in the top of the company, and we're doing those confirmation calls, it's a real good indication that a medical doctor, will have his secretary do confirmation calls, or, you got an eye appointment, we just want to make sure you're going to be here, know where it is, know what time it is. They remind people just like we do. So I want you to know this is a real profession. It's a real occupation, and you got a real chance of doing it really well if you really follow the system.
That is so right. And thank you, Mr. Johnson. Great job. We've got some of our executive directors were able to hop on the speaker line tonight, and I know some of you have experienced the ins and outs of doing this and not doing this. And so any comments from any of you we'd love to share before we close the call.
Mr. Coyne, this is Ron Crutcher. Just want to share a couple of things. One thing about confirmation calls, sometimes we feel like we might be bugging the person, or we've called them so much, or we've set up the appointment and they should know, and especially if they're professional, and you don't want to appear to be over anxious or to be pushing. But when you're dealing with professional people or with busy people, sometimes they just forget. And they just really do appreciate you. Give them that call the day of the event or the day before to make sure they're there, or even if they're in their own offices. I mean, just this past Monday, we signed up a medical service company, a medical training company, and the owner of the company had expressed to us some weeks ago that he was interested and he wanted it. The day we set it up for Monday, we called him, so we're on our way over to see him, and he had completely forgotten about it. He had other things had scheduled in place of it, but he immediately rescheduled it because he wanted it. He said, I am so sorry. He said, I've just been so busy. I've had so much going on, and I didn't put it down, and I didn't have it on my calendar. I'm so sorry that I did not put it on my calendar, but I do want that membership. I need it. I've got some things going on right now. I'm getting ready to expand my business, and I need to have some attorneys look at some contracts. So this is a priority. You guys come on. I'm glad you called me. So sometimes just making that call, a confirmation call before the event, and just to remind them many times, a lot of times they'll be happy that you did that.
That's a good point. And Mr. Crutcher, I believe I remember when y'all started doing these for the first time. Do you remember the difference in your show-up rate?
Oh, absolutely. When we first, we used to be like the day of the event, especially at our weekly meetings, and we had so many people who would be standing at the door waiting on guests. And the meeting would be started, but everybody's standing out there waiting on their guests. Well, when we started initiating the confirmation calls before the event or even the day of the event, our show-up rate went from just about 10 or 15%, because it was really low in the beginning, to over 70%. When you get those confirmation calls and a person gets that call right before the event, it makes a world of difference. It does two things. One, it lets you know that they're dealing with a professional organization. Two, it just reminds them of their commitment. So it made a huge difference in the show-up rate for people coming to the weekly meetings and sit-downs and PBR.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I remember that, too. It was pretty exciting when y'all started doing these calls. From zero confirmation calls to a lot of people doing them, huge difference in the number of guests that were filling those rooms in Ohio. That was awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they're always going to come, but it sure gives you a much better chance.
It does. A commitment to another voice, even though when you don't know the person, too, and it's just when you make that commitment to another person, it does have weight. It does make a difference in many cases. So great comments, everybody. Is there anybody else on the line that wants to make a comment before we close the call? We wanted to keep this call very short tonight.
Yeah, I'd just like to say also I agree with everything that's been said, and one thing that's real critical, I think, that's always worked on these calls, if when you're doing that confirmation call, you put that little line in that says, if an emergency comes up, please don't hesitate to let us know, then we're able to kind of make some changes. And when you use that term, emergency means something different to everyone. So that elevates it up a little higher in terms of not being able to have some little things come in that might prevent a person from coming to a briefing or a meeting or whatever has been scheduled. So when you throw that little line in, if an emergency comes up, please don't hesitate to let us know. It changes some things.
That's great. And for everybody that doesn't know that voice, that's Mr. Eddie Smith, Executive Director out of the Charleston area. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good comments. Well, I want everybody to know that everybody on this line tonight that's listening in can do confirmation calls. Don't be calling Jennifer to do them. One of the reasons we did this training is to let you know the value of it, and also we're going to tell you where you can go get the script to learn how to do one if you've never done one. It is so simple. I mean, we actually have had, sometimes people's children do them when they're teenagers for them. And it's just another voice calling to do that confirmation call. It should not be a voice that the person has already heard, maybe on a three-way call or something like that. It's much better if it's actually a voice they've never heard before, if possible. It doesn't have to be, but if possible. So here's where you're going to find the training. Here's where you're going to find the script for doing three-way calls. This, and again, it's so important, such a simple thing. So download the document. Use it the first few times you do a confirmation call, and then you'll never need it again. It's so simple. On your training site, the Pathway to Wealth, click on the Training tab. In one of the choices under Training is More Training, M-O-R-E, More Training. And when you click on that, you're going to see the video window, the window that contains several videos. One of them is Frank doing more prospects than you can talk to, and there's several others there. Well, under that window, we have posted the document to download so that you have the script and the information so you can do those confirmation calls and so that you can teach your team how to do them. It's one of doesn't matter what level you are, doesn't matter anything. They don't even have to be in prepaid legal. But this script
and again,
works.
sometimes it's better if it's done because the person has a question and say, I really don't know. I'm just confirming your appointment.
Yeah, that's right. The person shouldn't be answering any questions at all when they do a confirmation call. They should simply, and if they get asked a question, then they need to say, I'm the event coordinator. I'm just coordinating this particular event. You need to ask that question when you get to the event. Or something like that, so they don't get hung up. That doesn't usually happen, but it can for sure. So we want to thank y'all for jumping on this second call. You have just learned how to, at least, as you heard the Crutchers numbers, at least double the chances of your guest showing up by having somebody confirm them with a confirmation call. Great job, everybody, tonight. Thank you for all your comments.
Yeah, thanks for the people who participated. Mr. Michael Johnson, once more time, you're just a dream to have on the team, and thanks for the training.
Awesome. Good night.